Who do people say that I am? Who do you say that I am? These are questions that Jesus asks his disciples in this week's gospel reading. And after some conversation about it, and after his disciples give him the answers, he sternly warns them not to tell anyone that he's the Messiah. There's something really profound, I think, about naming someone or naming something. And so Jesus first asks the question, who do other people say that I am? What are people saying? What are people talking about? What's the word on the street? We have a lot of that going on right now in the political process leading up to the election of our next president. There's a lot of talk about who these candidates are, what they mean to us, what they mean to other people. And then Jesus asks the question in a more personal way, but who do you say that I am? And Peter boldly proclaims that he believes Jesus is the Son of God, the Messiah, the one who is coming to save the people. He's more than just a prophet. He's more than another version of John the Baptist, more than another Elijah who's been reincarnated. The people who don't know Jesus, the people who aren't close to him, can't quite get a grasp on who he is. But those who are closest to him understand the salvation that he is bringing into the world. And then he warns his disciples not to tell anyone that message. I think there's a couple things going on with that. Why would he not want people to know? Can be a really confusing thing. But to be a Messiah is to put a target on your back. Eventually, that's the very thing that got him killed, was that claim of being the Son of God, of being the Messiah. And so, certainly politically, I think he understood that he'd be safer and he'd be around longer to share his message if word did not get out that he was the Messiah. But I think there's also something about not shoulding on other people, if that's, I hope that's not too offensive connotation, but I know that I personally get frustrated when people tell me what I should and shouldn't do, what I should and should not think, what I should and should not believe. And there's a part of me that wonders if Jesus is saying, let other people figure it out for themselves. Don't do the job for other people. Let them come to this realization on their own. Because it's more powerful that way. So don't tell people that I'm the Messiah. If they want to believe that, and if they do believe that, they will come to that belief in their own time, in their own way, and that's not our business to do that. And I think that's a powerful way of living our lives, of having really clear boundaries around what we believe and holding true to that and having that conviction, and then also not making it our business to make other people believe the same thing. So the question I think for us is really simple in some ways this week. Um, you know, who do other people say that Jesus is even today? But who do you say that he is? Who is Jesus for you? How would you answer the question that Peter answered? But I think the other question for us, in maybe in a more concrete way, is who do other people say that St. Andrew's is? Who do other people say that your church is? And then who do you say St. Andrew's is? Or who do you say is your church, your community? Are those answers the same or are they different? And if they're different, why? And what's going on in that space in between? And then the other question I think is our church bringing the salvation of Christ into the world? I would say yes, it is, but the question really then is, how are we doing that? And what are the myriad ways that we can do that, and that we are doing that? So I think those are the questions I would hope that we would reflect on this week with our reading from this week's gospel, of naming Jesus and being named by Jesus, because he turns around and he calls Peter the rock on which Jesus wants to build his way of life into the world, his way of salvation into the world. And there's an intimacy in that relationship of being able to call out those things that are most true about each other. And also call us into being the people that we are called to be. The people we're called to be in our individual life, in our families, in our church community, in our city, and in the world. Are we known as the ones who are bringing salvation and restoration and reconciliation into the world? Or are we not? And if we are or we aren't, what are the ways in which we need to grow into that and being named into that kind of community? Many blessings on the week ahead as we reflect on this week's gospel and try to live into these questions.